Hi, Alan Combies here, and today in this video I want to share with you a wonderful conversation that I had with fellow coach and practitioner Kowie Swart. And she and I, as you'll see, had a conversation. It was a free call that really I just invited her to have a deep conversation, but also I asked her if there was anything that she wanted clarity on or anything that she found that she was having a challenge with. In other words, I invited her to a coaching conversation. And after a wonderfully connected and powerful conversation, towards the very end, we found something that she was having a challenge with. And I believe her words were something to the effect of, she could see, in fact, I have it right here. She was so aware of people's suffering. And she says, I'm learning that I cannot carry everybody's burden, but I'm at the stage where it's open and raw. And so this looked real to her, and she was really convinced that she could feel people's suffering. And so what you're about to see is the coaching conversation that took place. Now, I'm going to pause just a couple of times here and there to really kind of pull back the curtain and share with you what was going through my mind, what wasn't going through my mind, like if I didn't know what I was doing or where I was, but also to really see what this sort of style of coaching is all about. Now, it doesn't always look this way. With Kowie, it really made sense to me to sort of take it slow and really be careful with my words. You also see there's moments where there was long pauses. Now, the long pauses were really for the purpose of, as you'll see, Kowie had an insight, and I didn't want to get in the way of that insight sort of updating her system. And so you'll see there's some long pauses, and I'll interject during this video and share with you a couple key moments there as well. Now, I should say that my primary purpose with any coaching call is really to create the conditions for my client, for you, to have the insights and the realizations that make a difference to you, right? And so it doesn't always look like this. It doesn't always look like very slow and sort of deliberate, although often it does. Sometimes I talk a lot, and then other times I don't talk at all. And then sometimes we pull out tools from our toolbox and we address certain issues that way as well. But I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope this brings some insight into what clarity coaching looks like and what it might be able to do for you. So without further ado, here you are.
All right. So, as I said, we can have a conversation and just a chat and see where that takes us. Or if you have something that you would like to have more clarity on, something that you would like to work through, or
seeing somebody in the supermarket looking at the prices of meat, and you can see how they're calculating, will they be able to afford it? Seeing anger on people and realizing it's because they are just feeling so hopeless and helpless in this situation. By the end of the day, because I think where I am now is I'm so aware of it. When I go back to bed in the evening, it's like, I'm learning that I cannot carry everybody's burden. But yes, I'm at the stage where it's open and it's raw.
I'm getting those chills again because, I mean, it makes so much sense to me, you being a former nurse, right?
Mhm.
Always being hyper alert and caring for somebody else, and being what they need in that moment.
Mhm.
It makes sense that now a big learning of yours is learning to let that go, which doesn't mean being less compassionate,
No,
right?
no.
We can be compassionate and loving by trusting that that person is on their own journey. And if we do end up connecting, if we do end up crossing paths with them, well, the best thing we can do is show up with that knowledge that underneath that troubled thinking, they're okay. They're more than okay. They're divine, just as you are.
Say that again. Underneath what they are
Underneath,
now.
underneath their troubled thinking, they are okay. And in fact, they're more than okay. They're divine, just as you are.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
really.
Yeah.
It just struck me as I heard you saying that is the lesson. When you say it feels raw for you, that is the lesson that you are experiencing in this moment. That everybody is actually okay.
So it should be noted that having spoken with her for about 50 minutes prior to this point in the conversation, I had a really nice feeling with Kowie. And one of the ways I really attempt to achieve that with anybody is to really sort of calibrate myself, notice where I'm at in the moment. So in other words, if I'm feeling insecure or uncomfortable, well, I know that that is really that's just thoughts coming into my awareness that are making me feel that way. And so by realizing that that feeling is there, that uncomfortable feeling is there, it's a signal to me to step back and step back into who I really am, and step back into the moment and into connection with my client. Now I'm also feeling for her presence and her connection, but I can't do that unless I'm connected myself, right? And so listening when her challenge or her problem finally sort of came to the surface, and at this point in the conversation, because I did have this felt sense of connection with her, I I just spoke what I saw in that moment. Not a lot of thought on it, not a lot of coaching ninja skills. Really, it just occurred to me how the world looked to her in that moment, and how it looked to me, and so I tried it out. I mentioned it to her, and I could see right away that it resonated with her. So here you go.
Okay. It makes sense. More than you would know. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And that nursing part that wants to reach out all the time and comfort, and that's why I'm so tired at night.
Yeah, and you're beginning to unsee that, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
beginning to unravel, and that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Oh.
What a place to land, huh?
Yeah. Wow.
So here's where you're going to notice me really stepping back, and for the purpose of, number one, recognizing that she had an insight, right? Like she saw something. Now, I have an idea of what she saw based on what I communicated to her and what she's communicating back to me. But that's almost irrelevant. What I really noticed was that she had an aha moment. She had an insight. And so I don't want to step on that. I want that insight. You see, insights have a beautiful way of updating our neurology. They sort of update our system. And in best case scenario, swaths of old conditioned thinking can begin to fall away. And so that's what I felt was going on here. And so again, I just wanted to step back and let that happen. And sometimes here I might say some things like, you know, I might ask questions like, you know, what is it that you're seeing, or what makes sense to you? You said this makes sense. What makes sense to you? I might ask those questions, but here it didn't occur to me. It really, something in me just said, just sit back, stand back. And so here you go.
Mm-hmm. I think I will sleep better now.
I've got a ton of love for you. Ton of love. Really feeling that connection.
Well, yeah. And that whatever they're going through, they're also going to be okay. Because they are the divine. Oh. Yeah, I get that. I get that now. Mm.
I feel this remarkable spaciousness as we sit in this feeling.
Now, what's curious here is towards the very end of really feeling this deep sense of connection, I was starting to sense something else bubbling up. And as a matter of fact, as soon as I mentioned that sense of connection, I had this really strong feeling that there was something else that she wanted to address. In fact, I had thought the conversation was coming to a close, but as soon as I mentioned that, again, that sense of connection to her, or I mentioned it out loud, I felt something else that she wanted to address. And sure enough, there was one more thing to touch on, and I think it was very important to touch on. So here you go.
So, can we go back to the old man standing in front of the meat?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to reach out to him, or only acknowledge? There's a place in me that wants to comfort him.
Right. Do you think that's coming from so if he is actually divine?
Okay, I've got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that was beautiful what you just asked there, because it was a wonderful example of that old thinking kicking back a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now this is not to say that if somehow you found yourself
I know.
in an interaction with him, that
I
you
know.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
and to me, it's more just about your presence, Kobe. Like coming from who you really are, and seeing him as as divine,
Yeah.
right? That alone can
Yeah.
really do something for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so why don't we just send that to everybody?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I have a thing that I told you when we spoke about I'm free. I am a giving person. I don't just randomly give. If I do not really have it in my heart to give, I will know exactly what to give. I will know the right amount. I sometimes have this conversation. I think this is a bit too much, but I still give it. So that I do, but the old man with the meat was more connected to that rawness of empathy, sympathy. The world is upside down. He's old, but yes, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to trust your wisdom. I think it's more than okay. I think that in other words, if you came across that man and it occurred to you to say, you know, uh, hand over your Visa card to the clerk and say, I want to buy his groceries, right? It's something like that, just as an example. Um, if that felt right to you, then that could be just the thing that person needed, not as a charity, but as an uplifting feeling of humanity and goodness and love and right. And I'm not saying that that's what we should do 100% of the time, like go buy people's groceries. It's what occurs to us in the moment. It comes from that space of love and wisdom.
Yeah. But what I did need to hear was that underneath his thought process, he is divine.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so are you.
And you. Yeah.
Oh goodness, Kobe, this has been such a wonderful treat. Thank you for showing up today and just bringing your presence and being willing to have a deep, real conversation. I just really feeling all the feels.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad. Yeah.
Me too.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful and insightful. And of course, if you would like to have a conversation with me one-on-one to see if life clarity coaching might be exactly what you need, then you can you can go to my website, which is alancombies.com. There should be a link in the description of this video. And really just schedule a time for us to have a chat. Absolutely no strings attached. It's just a way for us to get to know each other and, so we can be introduced to each other. I really enjoy speaking with people, and I hope I get to meet you and talk with you soon. All right. And of Of course, if you have any questions, I love your comments. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I do my best to read all the comments and answer any questions that I can. All right. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.